What's going on, everybody? Today is February 18th. This is episode 36 of Got Our Attention. We are obviously here. I do have Bruno, and I do have Brian. And I want to go back in the time machine, back to a time where Facebook wasn't the most popular thing on the planet for social media. Back when social media wasn't really huge yet. We didn't really understand it yet. It wasn't a thing. And I'm talking about MySpace, if anybody remembers MySpace. I do. I had a MySpace page. I had multiple MySpace pages, actually, because I had a band at the time. I was running a venue, so I had a page for that.
Of course you did.
My own personal page. I had a recording studio, so I had a page for that. And I just remember like the coolest things because you could modify the pages, like HTML, and actually change the way it looks and add music and add all this cool stuff. And anyway, enough about that. The reason why I'm bringing that up is that there's a 20-year-old kid from, I think it's Poland or something, but he basically has recreated MySpace for people to use. Actually, he's 18 years old. Excuse me. Let me back that up. He's 18 years old, and yeah, it's literally almost a carbon copy of exactly what MySpace used to be. And
Germany.
He's from Germany. So he's able to recreate this, and you can actually sign up. It's a website called spacehey.com. So
H-E-Y.
Yeah, spacehey.com. And you can actually sign up, make your own profile. He's already actually had, this started off, and I think it just said December of last year or November. I'm really bad at reading these articles, apparently. But he had already been doing this for a little bit. He's already had like 80,000 people sign up for this page. Yes. And with that, he's also got verified users too, like celebrities are signing up, making sure their pages are verified and such like that. So it's actually taken off. I signed up. I thought it was interesting just to go ahead and have one. I didn't get the MySpace angle or anything, but that is one of the things from before that everybody used to do, is like the MySpace angles and such. So, but yeah, it's really neat. I thought it was really cool. We're not sponsored or anything by them, but I just thought it was really neat. So I would say you go check it out if you're interested, if you're into MySpace, and you're kind of, the biggest thing that I remember and from using this new Space Hey is that there is no social soapbox, which I really like. Yes, there are discussion boards you can post to, and like people can post on your wall and such, but the fact that like I don't have to log in and see like a board of just people telling me whatever they feel like telling me is great. I can just pick and choose what I want to actually see. So that's pretty neat. So that's one thing I just wanted to mention. I thought it was pretty cool, and you should check it out.
You're leaving out something important.
What's that?
When are you gonna create the Sassy Gamers
space? I already thought about doing that. I just hadn't had time to do it yet. But yes, I am gonna make a page for SAS Gaming. That is gonna be.
Dude, what if somebody steals it from us before you do?
Oh man, I guess I should probably do that now.
It's a hot commodity.
So.
Well, I was gonna say you should do it before we like edit and publish the podcast, but we might actually have live viewers that would want to troll you.
Yeah, no, I see.
So maybe during the break, it might even be too late.
Yeah, I guess we should have probably thought that one through, right?
What's this wee shit, white man?
So, but anyway, yeah, it's pretty cool. I would definitely check it out if you're interested. And yeah, so
can sense James hitting his keys right now.
Yeah.
Nope, day drinker.
Yeah, one of them
says stealing now.
That'll be easy to get back though, because I'll just like work something out and be like, I'll trade you alcohol for the name. We can be real cool. What do you want? You want wine? You want like miniature wine? But all right. So we talked about something cool. Let's talk about something less cool.
All right, we already have it. It's spacey.com/sasgaming. It's official. I already signed it up.
Okay. So last week I briefly mentioned I discussed the fact that PS5 DualSense controllers are a lot of the times effectively shit because they're plagued by drift issues on the joysticks. And I explained that the return on it was really complicated. The warranty was not a great system. You would call one support line, they'd be like, "Oh, actually, we don't handle that. You should call this support line." And they'd send you that way, and then you'd actually have to pay for shipping in that direction, and it cost you like $20-something a lot of the times is what people were reporting. And then they receive the controller and they like essentially refurb it and fix the issue, and they send you the controller back. If the controller has issues again, you have to send it back to them for another $25. And at that point, you're just at a new fucking controller. Well, shocker, because nobody could have possibly seen this coming. Sony's being sued. So a class action lawsuit has been filed against Sony by a law firm, Schmickels, Schwartz, Kreiner, and Donaldson Smith. I hope I said that correctly. I don't fucking know. I have a weird last name.
That was great.
Kind of weirder.
That sounded like Lemony Snicket's and whatever.
We'll fucking roll with it.
Candy lawyers.
Yeah.
So obviously the defendants are labeled as Sony Corporation of America and Sony Interactive Entertainment. So this is apparently the first class action lawsuit filed against them regarding DualSense. Essentially, the complaint is that the PS5 DualSense controller is defective and contains a defect that results in character or gameplay moving on the screen without user command or manual operation of the joystick, is how it's specifically worded. Essentially, they're saying that there's no way Sony, as a company, didn't know that this was an issue, and that they sold a faulty product, which is impressive considering they had almost no product, and yet they still managed to fuck this up. But whatever. So it's a huge issue. It's actually a lot more widespread than what was initially thought. Just depends on how much you've used your PS5 as to whether you've noticed the issue or not.
Right.
And to add insult to injury, they're now not honoring their warranty correctly. So they're breaking their own warranty agreements for defective PS5 controllers. Like, so they sold a faulty product, and now additionally in the suit they're being alleged of not actually honoring their own policy for the product that they've sold. So you could try and issue a return on it, and it's supposed to be within the return because it's drifting joysticks, and they'll just tell you to eat shit. This isn't like a new issue, by the way. It's not specific to Sony. As shitty as Sony's handling it, the Switch has been plagued with this issue since its release. So there it is. Now there's another company up there on that pedestal hawking really horrible controllers that are plagued with hardware issues that are completely unfixable by the common user. Doesn't matter if you reinstall I think you can flash the firmware on it and like actually just reset your controller, and most people say that does nothing for them.
Yeah, it sounds like the actual hardware.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't had it yet. But then again, I haven't used my PlayStation 5 as much as I used other things.
Well, that.
And even though Bruno just jacked the fuck out of my segue, I'm going to use it anyway. So speaking of other companies that have had joystick drift, let's go on to talking a little bit more positive about them. In this case, Nintendo.
Oh, wow, I did fuck you. Oh, shit.
At least I got a kiss afterwards. Anyway, yes, actually speaking positive about Nintendo, who has had that negative thing in the past, they had their Nintendo Direct just yesterday. And I got to watch some people watching it live because I think it's much more entertaining to watch some of the other journalists that I follow, watch and comment on it while it's being watched live. But anyway, it was an interesting Direct. It was announced fairly quickly, so a lot of people thought there was not going to be very much in it. It, however, is approaching summertime, and summertime is, this is when the games start popping. So this is the time to make announcements as well. And sure enough, they actually, it was only supposed to be like about a 50-minute direct as well. So not a lot of time to talk about a whole bunch of big things. And yet they still dropped a bunch of things. And some of them interesting. I'm actually going to start off, I'll start off with some of the releases that are coming up that some we knew about, and I'll end on some stuff that we didn't know about. Monster Hunter Rise is going to be dropped on March 26th. That is supposed to be a Monster Hunter specifically created for Switch, more than the last Monster Hunter, which was on several consoles on PC, was a departure from the original Monster Hunter because it had more power to play with, that it was much more open and less fractionalized like the old Monster Hunters. Well, this Monster Hunter Rise will be a little bit more fractionalized again, but they're putting a lot of the benefits that they've learned in recent titles into this one as well. So it's supposed to be pretty good. Something that I did not know was coming was Mario Golf Rush.
Oh, dude,
so
my
the first
favorite
golf game on the Switch. They're fun games. And it's going to be out June 25th. No More Heroes 3 is coming out August 27th. And that, like, I'm not very familiar with that franchise, but holy snot, the artwork for it looked just incredibly anime and so cool looking. That was like, okay, I mean, just look at that. That looks pretty interesting. And then at the very end, they said, okay, we're done making announcements. Oh, but wait, here's a teaser. And they dropped the fact that Splatoon 3 will actually be released in 2022. So it's a huge game for them. That franchise has done gangbusters for them. And that's pretty exciting that they got that coming out in 2022. Now, I've skipped over a lot. I have skipped over some interesting things. For instance, fan of the podcast, friend of the podcast, Day Drinker, is a fan of this wonderful little game called Donut County. And no, I'm not talking about Donut County. I'm actually talking about the creators of Donut County are coming out with a first-person shooter, or a first-person action platformer, actually, that is very interesting. You play an assassin in heaven, and it's first person. You're zooming around. You're using cards sometimes and sacrificing cards to get abilities. There's a little bit of shooting. There's some platforming. I watched the trailer for it, and it looks A, batshit insane, and
sounds about right.
B, nothing at all like Donut County. It is amazingly different. And it's called Neon White. I highly, highly recommend you go out and check out the trailer for Neon White, because it looks extremely different than a lot of the games that are out right now. I mean, there are some similarities. It's first person. It has a first person shooter type-esque feel, but it's got cards in it, and it's this platforming, and it looks very entertaining. I've never heard of it before. I am very, very interested in it. So then, and this is to Mike and Bruno here.
I'm listening.
What would you say about a Star Wars game coming to the Switch?
Lego Star Wars?
Not Lego Star Wars. A free-to-play online shooter.
Free-to-play online
Star Wars
shooter.
Yes.
For Switch.
Who would you say would be a good, I don't know, publisher or developer that would make a free-to-play online shooter Star Wars?
Is there microtransactions?
It's free-to-play. I think I already covered
the
that.
answer is
I won't
EA.
answer this question because I was there and I know.
I'm going to say EA. Because I have to.
EA.
So
would
much
you
weirder.
believe would you believe that this is from the makers of Farmville?
Wait, what?
I think I broke Mike. I think I broke Mike.
So Farmville stopped working in December. And their new project now is a Star Wars first-person shooter on the Switch for free.
Something really important to note is Zynga Games, the creators of Farmville, are fucking massive. Like, they did so well for themselves with mobile games.
Wasn't that Candy Crush too, though? Weren't they the owners of that? Or at one point?
I don't know. They're owners of so many fucking games. Like, if you actually look at the list, I think it's pretty ridiculous. They've done really well for themselves. They're honestly probably one of the largest video game companies on the planet at this point, just off of their mobile sales alone. So, I don't know. You know, it's really weird. Depending on what kind of a team they pulled together, I could see it being really good. And watching the initial
King was Candy Crush.
Yeah, watching the initial like teaser for it, I was like, "Yo, why does this look so good? This is crazy." And then when it said who made it, I was like, "The fuck?
What?" Yeah, Words
Star
with Friends.
Wars Hunters.
So
was what was announced.
I'm still confused.
I'm very confused.
So, like, are you going to be running around the corner, like, shooting somebody, and then there's going to be, like, an ad going, hey, if you want to shoot this person, you're going to have to pay, like, 99 cents.
Like, I mean, it's on the Switch, so I assume cosmetics.
Anymore.
I have to assume cosmetics.
Yeah, but cosmetics have always been so
but see,
problematic.
That trailer seems like that was
Star Wars stuff.
That didn't really show me any gameplay.
Oh, there was no gameplay. Yeah, there's no gameplay on that.
I don't
it's
know how I feel about that yet. Like, that could literally turn into, like...
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Oddly, they say that it's going to be coming 2021. So this year, it's supposed to be coming, and there's no gameplay on there. Yeah, I agree with Bruno that it would probably be cosmetics, but the problem is cosmetics have been so problematic on Star Wars games. They tried to do that in, like, the Star Wars Battlefront, for instance.
Yeah.
And Battlefront 2. They couldn't do all the crazy cosmetics because LucasArts wouldn't let them. They're like, well, that's not canon, or that's not, it. And that's where it becomes difficult when you talk about cosmetics there. But I mean, that's how free to play is right now. I mean, all the good ones out there that survive are cosmetics.
The like lockdown contract they had for so long with all of their games has been released now, so things are more open for them to do what they want. And I think didn't like the entire studio like essentially get reworked now, so they're working with like dozens of different game companies.
Yeah,
to push stuff
they're
out.
all under what is it?
Yeah, they basically did Lucasfilm's Games, which is not a studio.
Right.
It's the branding that all these studios can use for their games. Since they basically dissolved the exclusive license that EA had.
Yeah, I mean,
I say exclusive because it wasn't truly exclusive. Lego still had their Lego Star Wars as well, but primarily exclusive.
I mean, I'm not going to knock it. I mean, the fact that we are getting more Star Wars games because of that, let's just see what it does. I'm not going to knock it. I'm not going to say I'm expecting it to be great, but...
Let me just say, as someone who is old...
What?
And I'm not saying this like I'm some wise man. I'm just saying that I've seen this happen...
Well, slow down, Gandalf.
...twice before with Star Wars. Where they just merchandise the ever-loving fucking shit out of stuff until you got like, Star Wars underwear for adults. And Star Wars like everything everywhere to where it dilutes the brand way, 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 way down. So I have some concerns when...
Well, yeah, just like Rian Johnson's going to be directing the new trilogy for...
It's Zynga, so I think anybody's going to have some...
Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to knock
worries.
it. I'm not going to knock it. I mean, they could even do something really weird. And if it's cool, then cool.
Speaking of knocking it, the last one that I wanted to talk about, and I think I probably should have led with this one because the other two were so much better than this one, but this one's still got its cool parts. There's a new game that they're going to be releasing as well called Knockout City. It's again in the vein of this was made by who? Where this was made by the same people that made Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. And this is a online dodgeball game. And this was interesting because not only is it a dodgeball game, but they've got these characters that are obviously homages to other things.
Yeah, it was like
there's
Rainbow Six,
I mean,
or CS:GO, or World of Warcraft,
and then this like or Warhammer, either
Warhammer,
one.
yeah.
On top of it, they have a girl that looks like the girl from a Wreck-It Ralph. There's a princess. Gotta love that one. But the warrior from the sci-fi game and Wreck-It Ralph shows up in this as well. At least someone who is homage to that. So they're really Nintendo of all people coming close to like infringement.
Yeah,
is
that is
hilarious.
Really strange.
That's super strange.
But it's not a Nintendo game. So like, that's, I guess, the difference. Like, it's not Nintendo Studio making the game.
This trailer was the most confusing shit I've seen in a long time. Because I really was like, when I was watching, I was like, did these fuckers, like, did Valve and like, I forget who did Wreck-It Ralph. Is that Pixar? Or DreamWorks?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, one of them.
I think it might be Pixar. And like Blizzard come together to make some weird fucking arena game. Because I was like,
because that's what exactly it looks like.
So like it got me really excited because I was like, okay, so there's like a CS:GO operative in here, and there's like the girl from Wreck-It Ralph.
There she is.
And then and I was just like they're bringing all of these different characters in, so this must be like some weird fucking fighting game that mixes them all together. And then boom, it was just this weird fucking dodgeball game, and I was like, what the fuck just happened? And the characters don't show up in the game. They're not actually in the game. Those characters don't exist. They were just for the trailer.
I saw the orc in the game.
The orc was in the game?
So the other thing too is it looks
because he says be the ball, and he rolls up and he like turns into the ball, and then
but he just looks like a guy. He just looks like another human in the actual game.
This looks
I think
very similar to that fighting game that we played the other day. The one on Xbox Game Pass we played that was like past its prime. We played it for like...
Oh, yeah. I know. It's Razor's Bleeding Edge.
Bleeding Edge. Yeah, it looks very much like Bleeding Edge. Like almost the same thing,
maybe
except...
a little more cartoony in this.
Right, but just dodgeball.
Brighter.
Interesting. Because that game seemed like it would work, but it just was, just, I guess, past its time. So, weird. What an odd Nintendo Direct. I didn't get to catch this one today, which was good. But yeah, it's
like, I was so happy that I watched it because I was like, okay, sure. They announced new characters for Super Smash Brothers. And I'm like, Well,
that's going to happen every time.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So, they took the ankle bracelet off of the creative director guy who kind of creates everything for Smash Brothers and let him talk for a little bit. And then they put him back into his cage. But I mean, other than like the kind of the more obvious stuff, it was really neat to see just this out of left field, bizarre shit that like you tend to see on Nintendo because, they'll turn around, they'll green light the damnedest thing that you would have never thought they would do.
I hope that it's a little bit more complex than what the trailer showed.
Yeah, it's just definitely the passing looked like it was definitely lock on.
It's it's just a weird game to announce the same time you announce Splatoon 3.
Yeah, well, I mean, Splatoon 3 was at the end, and they had other things. They had like a remaster of Stubbs the Zombie. They had a couple other interesting things.
They did. They had a bunch of other stuff that was
Famicom
cool,
Detective Club.
Yeah.
Never even heard of that before.
Thought it was cool them bringing like the Xenoblade character into to Smash, and like Bravery Default 2 was announced, and what was that game called? Triangle RPG or whatever. The one that's like very Octopath Traveler like. So there's a lot of cool things.
Yeah, that one was pretty cool. Yeah, and they talked about the they talked about Fall Guys coming to the Switch, and I was like that happened, and I was like, Fall Guys is not on the Switch. I was
you would think, right?
Just dumbfounded. Yeah, yeah. And then they talked about the Mario stuff that's gonna be put into Animal Crossing, so that's kind of cool too. But these other ones, Triangle Strategy is the one you're talking about. Is a brand new tactical RPG by Square Enix. And it was very tactical RPG. But if you're into that, it looks like a really great one.
Yeah, those games are like right up my alley. So like that and Bravery Default are going to be like an instant buy for me.
I mean, I played Octopath Traveler for a little bit and on the Switch actually, and it was great until like I started getting my ass kicked. And I was like, okay, this game is not what I thought this was.
What surprised me about games like that is like, at face value, they seem really innocent and like very kid friendly.
Yeah.
But like I was playing it, and I remember when I was playing Octopath Travelers, I was like playing it on the TV, and Savannah was sitting next to me drawing, and I got to this point where you're discovering one of the female character storylines, and like you could tell that moment where like somebody clues into something that they weren't paying attention to before because of how fucked up the situation is or something. There's just a moment in the game where she was like, wait, what the fuck did they just say in the game? And I was like, yeah, this game definitely deals with some really mature themes for a game that looks like it's branded towards kids. So like, it's very interesting how they design their games, and it actually makes the story in those games really intense, and like you invest really heavily into it. So
yeah. Well, before we move on, just a reminder, watch out for Neon White from the makers of Donut County, Star Wars Hunters from the makers of Farmville, and Knockout City, dodgeball game from the makers of Mario Kart Live Home Circuit.
Wow.
Yeah. You want to know what other game to watch out for, guys? It's a game we played on Game of the Moment. The biggest
streaming game out there.
Fucking growing game right now. And it is none other than Valheim. Yep. Valheim
surprise.
is on track to be Steam's biggest ever hit of a game. It sold 2 million copies since its release just roughly 2 weeks ago. And it peaked at 370,000 concurrent players 3 days ago. That was. I actually don't know if that number's gone up since then. But yeah, the game is just completely obliterating everything in the same genre as it. So like Rust doesn't even come close. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds didn't even reach those numbers. We're talking like this game is currently only being outdone on Steam by games that are massive online multiplayer titles like Counter-Strike, which is like a freaking staple of Steam and has been for legitimately decades. Or again, another Valve-related game, Dota 2. Like, these are the only games that are beating. It used to be like unheard of for games to make it up to the charts to dethrone things like Grand Theft Auto. And this game came in, and small studio based out of Sweden, Iron Gate AB. I can't tell exactly how many people they have employed. If you read into them, it looks like they have 2 primary developers and maybe 3 artists and then their publisher. So a very small team makes this freaking game about, Vikings surviving in purgatory, and it just exploded. And to top it all off, it didn't explode the way, like, let's say Rust did a few months back. It wasn't like aided and lifted by Twitch streamers. As a matter of fact, the game blew up, and now, after blowing up and gaining all these hundreds of thousands of concurrent players, is only now being picked up by a lot of the larger streamers because they're noticing how much this game is garnering attention from the general player base. So like a lot of people are finally starting to jump on the bandwagon. Some streamers actually picked it up briefly. There were some large streamers that were like, oh yeah, let's try it out. And they're like, nah, never mind. And they stopped. And now those streamers are like, never mind, let's go back to it because there's a lot of money in streaming this game. But
I think you nailed it last week when you said that you start off this game and it's like, okay, it's a survival game. I have to craft a couple of things and I'm going to get killed a couple of times and shit's going to happen. And I think that's exactly why some of the big streamers bounced off of it, because at the beginning, it's just a whole bunch of the same.
Yeah.
Because that's, a good way to start it off and to onboard you and stuff. And it's how you said it, Bruno, last week of there's so much depth to this thing. There's so many different things to do, and the map is so massively huge. And these streamers didn't realize it. And the people who like keep pushing this game and keep playing it out there and keep it going, they're the ones that are getting the views, because everybody else is like, oh, how do I get that really cool armor? Holy shit, I saw this guy doing this thing. How do I do that? And they're seeing all these people do all these things, and the big streamers got caught with the pants down.
Well, what's funny...
Yeah, the game... Go ahead.
Well, I'll just say what's funny is we talked about the other games that are beating this right now, which is like you said, a multi-massive like CSGO first-person shooter where it's team-based and like even an esport at that point, and Dota 2, which is also an esport, very massive group. And in this game, you can only have up to 10 players. So it's not like this is a WoW where you have all these people, playing on the same server, and that's why it's so large. Like, literally, the servers are only able to carry 10 people per match or per world. So, I mean, that's huge, because that means there's not just like a bunch of people hanging out and that's why it's popular. It's like individual groups of people are actually wanting to play this game, or even individual, or maybe just you and a friend, because you don't have to fill out that lobby and you can just explore and do things. Like, I think
it's got a lot of layers of what people were looking for. And it does something that no other game of its kind has done. Your character is actually separated. Well, I guess technically DayZ did this to some degree. It was just not as efficient or clean because of the way that DayZ plays. Yeah. Like in DayZ, you die, all of your stuff is gone.
Yes.
So what they did in Valheim is your character persists outside of the worlds that you play in.
Yep.
So you can create your own world, go into it, play your character. You can level up your character stats, get your character new armor, gear, what have you. And then you'd be playing with the same group of friends for like a week. And then another friend messages says, hey, I'm also playing this game. You should come and play with us. And a lot of the times you're like, well, shit, I want to level up all my skills. You don't have to. You don't have to get all these new things. You can actually take all that stuff that you have on your character and you just join their world, and you just drop right in at the spawn point and you start playing the game.
Yeah, and a lot
skills and equipment.
Well, a lot of other games too, they'll kind of do that in a way where it's like the inventory method, right? Where you go to an inventory crate, you drop all the items you want to use in it, and then you join with another character, and then you can pick it back up. But like literally being able to just leave the game with your character and everything persists, and then you join another server, it's just flawless. Like it's it's really
and
interesting.
The depth. The game is like really tricky because at face value, when you start the game, you're like, wow, there's not much to it. You have like a couple little wooden things and just like there's not a whole lot going on. And then the next thing you know, you're like, wait a minute. So I just crafted this thing and now I unlock these 5 more things. And then I crafted this one thing out of those 5 and I picked up this item I couldn't pick up before. And I can craft 10 more things. And then like now I can craft 20, 30, 40, 50. And you realize, wow, there's not like 3 sets of armor. There's like at least 7 that I have access to now. And there's not just like these 2 sets of weapons. There's actually like 6 or 8 or 9. It just keeps opening up more and more of the game. And the continents can change. Like I've played probably a good 20 something hours and I've still only seen 3 biomes, but apparently there's like a whole slew of biomes I haven't even touched yet. And like people who have been playing the game way more than me are like, oh yeah, like have you seen like the crazy like giant lizard dudes that run around with massive clubs? They look like they're from like Zelda, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No.
And that's the thing. Like, this game has a little bit of something for everyone. Because I mean, we all 3 played Game of the Moment. We all played the same server. That one day we started from fresh characters. And like me, person who likes survival crafting and building, like that's what I did. I built until my building contractor told me to get out of the property. And took over. But I like to build and do things. Bruno was out just running through the woods, killing things, trying to defeat the enemy as fast as possible. And then Brian was kind of
the fuck up.
And Brian was like out resource hunting. So it was like everybody was doing their own thing, but yet we were all playing the same game and still having fun with it on the same sense. So. And
that's actually perfect for the next part of what we have for Valheim, which is they had an initial roadmap. And it had like titles and some basic information, but it didn't look like it was very expansive. And to the creators of Valheim, credit, they kind of like were like, well, yeah, no, we were really honest about what we were going to release. We honestly didn't think we were going to create too much in our roadmap. Like, we knew that we were going to try and improve these things, but they've given another interview and some more information since this massive influx of players and sales, which means money. And they've elaborated on what their 4 updates specifically for 2021 will be. The first one, update 1, is called Hearth and Home. And what essentially they said, they're quoted as saying, as the name suggests, it will focus on the house building aspect of the game with more building pieces and stuff to do in and around the house. It'll be pretty focused on food preparation aspect of the game with more recipes and things of that, but there are also new additional building pieces. So to give you an idea, the building in this game seems really clunky at first, but its clunkiness also gives way to the crazy shit you can do, because it allows you to do things that you generally wouldn't. So you can actually like merge pieces of wood and rock into each other to create specific designs you otherwise wouldn't be able to if the building wasn't as clunky and everything snapped perfectly. People have taken that, and if you look up images of some of the bases people have made, it's fucking insane what you can already do. So the fact that they're promising to essentially do a decent sized overhaul to the food system, which kind of leads into the farming system and also the building materials that you have to build things with, means there's probably a lot more for people who like to build. Another update is called Cult of the Wolf. They actually refused to give any more information on this, other than they were like, it's going to be something that has to do with combat and additional encounters. And again, it's assumed that based on the fact that this happens in like the wolves only exist in the frozen mountains, you're probably going to be venturing into areas such as that for this part, but who knows? The third update is going to be ships in the sea. So right now you can build ships, you can go with your friends, there's sea monsters and things in the ocean, you can do fishing, but that's pretty much kind of where the ocean ends.
Or you can
there's
just
like really
flounder
cool
with your
storms and
friends
stuff.
on a little raft and everybody huddle
Yeah.
around and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they're planning on kind of pushing the boundaries with that and seeing what they can do. So they want more out in the ocean, more things to do. They want to give you a reason to actually sail and stay out at sea, as opposed to right now you kind of just get out in the sea and you're like, please don't let me get murdered by a group of sea monsters and let me make it to the next destination. And the
To which
final,
you make it to the next destination and you get murdered by a troll that's just standing there.
Yeah.
that's true, holding a giant tree in its hand.
Yeah.
The last one is update 4 Mistlands. So according to them, Mistlands is going to add an entirely new biome. So it'll come with new enemies, items, a brand new boss, similar to the other major bosses in the game, which of right now there are 5 or 6. I think it's 5. So that's going to be like a whole new subset to the game that they're going to add. All of this is supposed to come before the end of 2021. And one of the interesting things that they mentioned, because a lot of people thought that their people were trying to wonder where a lot of their inspiration came from, and according to them, it was actually more of like Skyrim than anything else. They were thinking of like worlds more like Skyrim with some survival mechanics in it, and their intent was not to directly create a survival game, but to more create an RPGS game with your friends that just had some light survival mechanics to it and a lot of freedom in a sandbox area. So it doesn't look like they're going to run out of steam anytime soon in terms of developing. I think this might be like a kind of like a No Man's Sky-esque story,
With
except without
A
the
good
horrible
launch.
start.
Yeah, with an actual good
Like
launch.
it's an amazing launch with a ridiculous amount of sales, followed by hopefully continued amazing production.
But you know what?
So-
You know why? Because they didn't have Sony sending their message saying this game's going to be
Fucking-
amazing at the begining.
Fucking
So
Sony. There was no hype for this game.
Yeah.
Actually, ridiculously, they had like no marketing costs whatsoever. We're talking like they legitimately didn't say shit. We learned about this game the day that it released, just like
Yep.
most other people. It just appeared on Steam, and they were like, "Early access, guys, come
yeah,
and
actually, I
play."
think it was my friend. It was actually a friend of the podcast too. He's Digital Janitor. He was like, "Hey, this game has Vikings and ships, and he's also known to be the captain." So he was like, "I'm down," and I looked it out, and I was like, "That's cool." And then the second trailer played metal, and I was like, "I'm in." And then I messaged Bruno, and I was like, "Hey, Bruno, check out this game," and he's like, "Sold." So,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, that's how we found out day of, and we played it, and then we were already kind of interested in
great.
it, and then
I think it
it's
worked
been just
great for
going from
them.
there.
Like, no hype. Everybody went in with no expectations because they
Yep.
had no idea what the hell they were about to get into. The trailer just showed like some light gameplay, and then you just jump into the game, and you're either like, what the fuck is this? I hate it. Or you're like, what the fuck is this? I hate it. And then you play for a little while, and you're like, actually, this is pretty good. And then eventually you're just hooked.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how that came, and it's a good thing for a lot of game makers to realize too, that like, you know, here is one of the most popular games on Steam breaking records, CD Projekt Red, where you have games that like are hyped up so much that by the time that I'm not saying that, you know, Cyberpunk was completely bad or anything. I did enjoy it for the little bit of time that I did play it, but it's like, you know, it's still enjoyable without having all this hype. Like, I don't have to have all the hype to make me try to live up to that game. So it's cool. I'll have to keep following it. I'm definitely going to keep playing Valheim, and then eventually we're
Anybody
go back
want
to
to
Cyberpunk.
start placing bets on who's going to release their first 4 updates? CD Projekt Red, a studio with like hundreds upon hundreds of employees, or Valheim, a studio with like 5?
Well, the fact that Phasmophobia and like the developer team of 1 is doing it more than CD Projekt Red, I think my money's going to be on Valheim.
There we go. You heard it here first. Valheim's going to win.
Oh, man. Well, with that, we're going to take a short break, listen to a word from our sponsors and Brian's sexy voice. And we're back. How was that? How was that little ad that we just had? That sound great?
It was good for me. Was it good for you?
They have a theory now that apparently, since I apparently said that Brian had the best wood, and now I said he has a sexy voice, they're onto something here. But ultimately, it's just hearsay. Oh, well. So, what we've been playing,
Bruno, do you know what the fuck he's talking about?
I have no fucking clue, to be totally honest.
He is so weird sometimes.
So
Fucking
we
weirdest.
played Minecraft this past Tuesday, which is not a surprise, and it's not necessarily a game of the moment because we've definitely played Minecraft many times, and it's just a go-to, right? But we did play a mod called SkyFactory 4. And if you're not familiar with the SkyFactory mod, we briefly talked about it on I think the previous podcast, the one before that. But basically, you start off in the sky.
Well, hold on. Before you go any further, I want to be clear. I think I was playing SkyFactory 4. You fuckers were playing let's try to make the other person fall forever 4.
We'll get to that. So
For shits and grins.
So the game starts off like you're in an infinite space, like in space, like there's galaxies around you, and there's only one tree that is grown, and you're on top of the tree.
So bizarre. I was thinking multiplayer, we would each get our own tree,
right,
and be able to build. But no, there's one tree, and there's 3 motherfuckers looking at each other, going, "What the hell do we do now?"
Well,
and you know
I can
what
tell
happened?
you what we did.
Bruno says, "I'll tell you what we do now." We smack Mike right off the fucking tree.
Yeah, so that did start that. The idea was you start off with one tree, you cut down the leaves of the tree to get down to the wood, and the wood go down to the actual base, to where the dirt is. And then from there, you can use the wood to build around the dirt, and then you can also plant a new tree, which would give you more resources and so forth, so on, to where you just keep replenishing resources, and then you gain through crafting other types of materials and other resources, and then you eventually get like a nice platform built, hopefully, where you have all these different types of trees and different materials and such. But yeah, one of the main things that we found out was that while we were doing this, Bruno and I decided that we were in a war. So like we'd be going through cutting down trees or whatever, and then like a few seconds later, like I would just fall through space because Bruno has decided to mine the block that I'm standing on. And I didn't notice. And then there was a point where I made 2 trap doors in front of our crafting bench. So as soon as they walked over, I hit the button and the trap doors opened up, and they were like, "What the fuck?" And then it was just like a whole thing. And it was a lot of fun just for that.
All I know is like, I'm like, okay, what's the next thing we got to do so we can get to iron? Okay, we got to make this type of tree. What are we going to do this type of tree? And I walk over to a crafting bench. And all of a sudden, all I can see is blue sky all around me. And I'm like, you dirty motherfuckers.
Yeah, it was fun
He
because
got
like
caught in the crossfire a couple
yeah,
fucking times.
just
but
intentionally.
you know
It
what?
was it just had to
still
do
fun.
it. And like he'd come back
you
and
know,
be like,
and-
"Where's
and-
my core? Where's my coal?"
Now, to give credit, you know, you guys were assisting in between some of this stuff. So I was like, okay, now let's figure out how to make a sand tree. Okay, I need this stuff. Okay, and I was like, here's your new type of tree. You guys go at it. And you guys would like, you know, bounce up and down in front of the tree like jackasses, which is actually what you're supposed to do in the game to make them grow.
And then we
You
would
bounce
kill
up
each
and
other.
down.
And then we would
And then they'd harvest some stuff and
Oh.
they'd drop it in the chest for me and kill each
one
other.
of the
was great.
weirdest things
great
is
fun.
when I died,
Yes.
I got like little dolls of myself. So I would spawn back in, and in my
You're so
inventory, I would
cute.
have my little doll of my Minecraft character. So I would throw it on the ground, and then Bruno just started collecting them. And then eventually, I got like a head, just my head, and I would throw that on the ground. Like he could wear it as like a mask. And so we had all of these, and when he died, he got his own. So he started making like a shrine of all these little like dolls, and it was just really strange.
Minecraft Steves.
And
Yeah.
it was very interesting.
And then
It was-
eventually Brian made a
'cause-
comment of like, can you guys expand the base or something? So I took all the miniature bodies of Mike and I actually added an entire row onto the base of just corpses.
Or it was great.
Yeah.
You're just walking on their little heads.
And then there was a
Oh,
point
God, it was
where
fun.
he was trying to kill me, and I was running, so I jumped up in, like I kind of jumped my way into a tree, and then while I was at the very top of the tree, I put another dirt block on top of the tree, and then planted another tree.
grew a tree.
So then I had
Yeah,
like massive trees, like it was almost like you're playing the game. There was like these massive like jungle trees where like you had some other ones that were normal size, and it was an interesting time, I will say.
it was like you were trying to make Avatar all of a sudden with floating fucking tree islands. And
Yeah,
shit.
it was
Like,
cool.
I just looked up and I was like, what the hell is going on?
Oh, and then
It was crazy.
And then there was a time where you tried to put lava in a wooden crate, and that didn't go very well.
Yeah, that
didn't go
didn't
well.
work out well.
It was great because I was staring at it, and I'm thinking, I was like standing on top of it, like right looking into the crate, and I was like, this is
You
wood.
literally said out loud, hey, is this going to burn?
Yeah, and then literally it caught me on fire, and then like all of the pieces around that we made, like this one platform is all wood, start catching on fire, and we have no water, so we're like, fuck, what do we do? So we're trying to put it out. And then eventually they got water and then used that. And I actually got kicked off, and I tried to catch the water to go back up. And then they took the water. So then I fell anyway. And you come through the sky.
Good
That's the other thing. And
times.
there's like rainbows, colors. Every time you die, there's like a rainbow spotlight essentially or whatever.
Well,
So
and I want to touch back on the falling for everything, because when you fall in this mod, when you don't hit bottom, you go down to the bottom and it puts you right back up the top again. You just keep falling over and over until you actually hit something solid. So you can guide your fall a little bit and guide it away from anything solid. You can just sit there and fall forever. And when you get bored, you just guide it right back and you just splat right down on the island. And it's hilarious.
yeah, definitely check it out. I mean, it's obviously a free mod. If you have Minecraft, you just got to download. You got to go to Forge?
Curse Forge.
Curse Forge, just what it was.
Now Overwolf.
Yeah,
they
it has
joined
Overwolf.
Witch.
Yeah, so but you can go there. There's all kind of different mods. This mod particularly runs its own thing. So once you launch it, it opens up Minecraft for you. Which you do have to have the Java version, I believe, of Minecraft to play this. Like you can't play any of the mods on the normal one. But anyway, yeah, super cool. Check it out. The other game that I played recently and I've been playing is Starbound. May have talked about this before. I can't remember, but it's like it's like No Man's Sky except like 8-bit. So that's pretty much it. Like you literally go to different planets, you collect resources, you go on missions and quests, and you can join up with your friends and go do other things and build and dig each dwarf and go underground and make your own base and whatever you want to do. Really cool if you're into like the No Man's Sky kind of thing, flying around, discovering stuff. I definitely recommend it. I think it's the same. It's Chucklefish, so it's the same makers of Stardew Valley and also Terraria. So it's just another game, but it's like in space. So really interesting. What's up?
Should note, Chucklefish is the publisher for Stardew Valley, but not the creator.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. That would be. God, I can't think of his name right now, but
Something Toast.
Concerned Ape.
No,
is,
Concerned Ape.
Yeah, that's the creator of Stardew. But yeah, the publisher is Chucklefish, who's got those
Yeah.
3 types of games out. But yeah, it's interesting. Check it out.
I think
if you're-
Terraria is 505 games.
Is it other?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it looks like Terraria. It's very similar to Terraria.
Yes, Terraria is more advanced.
I'll just be wrong about everything today. It's fine.
We're used to it.
Yeah. So that's all I've been playing.
Well, I mean, occasionally you get things right.
Yeah, I stumble. It's fine.
Like who's got the best wood?
Oh, God. Anyway, Brian, do you have anything else to play this week? Did you play anything else?
I got more to say next week.
Okay. Right, Bruno?
I don't know about if I can say it's new kind of because they've added additional content, but I now have a PS5, so I went ahead and got my free version of Niho 2, the remake essentially, the upgraded version for PS5, and I now have all the DLC I didn't play before, so I'm going through that shit show of a game, and by shit show I mean it's amazing, but it's just, difficult. Which makes
You've
it
got
more entertaining.
such a way with words.
Such a way with words. Shit show means a good thing in this case. Okay.
It's because he's Canadian.
Neo 2 is a fantastic game. But yeah, that's what I've been messing around with. Other than
I mean,
Path of
I know
Exile.
they speak English in Canada.
Yeah, but English in Canada has like a swear word after like every third normal word.
So basically, Day Drinker. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's why me and Day Drinker get along so well, because we speak the same fucking language. But yeah. I'll have a new game next week that I've had my eyes on for a while, that I finally purchased, but we'll get to that next week.
Sounds good. All right, well, I guess we'll get into our short attention span. All right, insert some rants. Can't wait for this.
I guess, yeah, our very first short attention span news article is about Baldur's Gate 3, which we've talked about a couple of times on the podcast. A new update is coming that adds druids and optional loaded dice functionality. So obviously druids is going to be a playable class in Baldur's Gate 3. So druids, loaded dice, some additional bug fixes, things like that, quality of life improvements. There's a whole lot, to my understanding from the patch notes. They've labeled it that this patch will have more content within it than every single patch that has been released for Baldur's Gate 3 up until this point combined. So hopefully that's true, though I haven't been following Baldur's Gate 3 very closely, so there may not even be that much content since the game released 6-ish months ago. But I don't know. New class sounds pretty cool. We'll see what comes of it.
I love that this picture here, the player is the giant freaking badger.
Yes.
The druid can turn into a giant badger. It's amazing.
Obviously Hufflepuff.
So we talked about the Pog Champ emote, which obviously got taken down when a guy said some stupid shit on the internet. So they changed his logo. They changed the emote from that. So they had went through the different ones and picked a few different people. They were going to do a new emote every day. And eventually that got taken down because of the fact that people are fucking assholes and can't just,
Yes.
be normal. So they decided on just keeping one forever. And the decision was made that the Komodo hype was going to be the new emote.
Lizard.
The Komodo light, yeah, the lizard. So there's always been that battle between the emote for the gooseneck, like the actual PogChamp, versus Komodo hype, because they both have the similar mouth, like wide open kind of space. And that was always like a cult following on each side. Well, now it's official. Komodo dragon, or the Komodo lizard, Komodo hype lizard has completely won. So that is now over.
Yeah, I know this is short news and supposed to keep to a minute, but I mean, this does bear a little bit more discussion, just because most people could have seen this coming. Between just the vitriol and hate that came out when certain, streamers were put for their face being the Pog Champ. Obviously they had they have a lot of positive support too, but it's the negative that screws this over for people. So, I mean, that's the obvious thing, that the reason why they would go to something that is neutral and that like they can't focus their hatred on. But I think it's also just because if they picked anyone to do it, even semi-permanently, it's only a matter of time before that person screws up. I mean, how many times have we had newscasts about, hey, this really great thing happened, and next week we're like, and they found some really disgusting shit in it, so they had to pull it down.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And this person did something really bad, so they had to pull it. I mean, they'd have to be a saint to like stay as the Pog champ. And you
I don't
know,
even know if they have to
eventually
be a
they
saint. They would just have to just not be a fucking shitbag, really. Like, I think, like, if he was into it, like, Shroud would have been somebody good for it, because Shroud is such a tame person in general, even in, like, outside of streaming seems to be the same as inside of streaming. And Shroud's just, like, a very, like, calm dude. So I feel like if he cared, which he doesn't care because he's too big to care, he would have been, like, a good choice. But it also doesn't match his, like, demeanor. But that's the problem. There's not enough streamers like that. There are a few of them, and all those streamers have one thing in common: they don't want to be some major emote that's utilized throughout all of Twitch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of shitbags,
so what the fuck is up with you assholes taking my segues?
got him.
Did that trigger you?
I think it did. Hashtag triggered.
Speaking of people being shitbags.
Oh man, that was great.
Well, I think that's actually probably a little harsh, but it is kind of weird that 3 times in a very short amount of time, police officers in the Beverly Hills area, whenever they noticed someone attempting to stream or video or press, they would take out their phones and jack up the volume on their phones and play songs. And they started with Sublime, and they've since moved on to the Beatles. They were playing Yesterday, which seemed to work, because when one of the people that was talking about this tried to go out to the news channels and say, look at what these people are doing, they're like, no, we can't run that because it's got the Beatles on it. So it looks like they're trying to like shut down streamers and stuff by playing copyrighted music, which is kind of bizarre.
But it's the fact that it's police officers when they're trying to do something that may be illegal because they're being filmed. They're using this method to try to
I don't
not
know
be
if
filmed.
they were trying to do something illegal. In fact, it doesn't even say what they were doing except for just that they were at a checkpoint.
The fact that you're playing music so you can get DMCA'd so the video can't stay online, that means you're doing shady shit.
Well, no, it doesn't. But it also, at the same time, shows their ignorance that they don't understand how DMCA works, and that doesn't necessarily pull down anything.
Shady shit.
Yep.
Whatever.
Our next-
How in this group did I become the optimistic one?
Well, I'm here, so that obviously means you're.
Well,
joining
okay.
me.
Between me and Mike, how did I become?
I don't know. Maybe he spent more time with me than you did, so I've just corrupted him to some degree. I'm not sure.
This could be.
There's a lot of Path of Exile nights.
That's a good point.
A lot meaning like a week, because I only play games for like a week.
So I'm gonna try and be optimistic for this next story, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to. So the Division 2, if you've played it or heard of it, it's getting a new update. And the update was so secret that it even surprised its developers. So joke's on you, assholes. You thought you were gonna be working on something different? Nope. Here we go again. It's weird because this current season of Division 2 is actually called End of Watch, and if you pay any attention to the game, you know anything about the game. Some additional information is that this End of Watch is exactly what it sounds like. It's supposed to be like the end of the story. It wraps everything up in a nice little bow, and it's over. And we're talking about the end of a story spanning not from Division 2, but from Division 1 all the way through Division 2. So we're talking the release of Division 1, all of the expansions, the release of Division 2, the 12 updates that came with the Division 2. This was supposed to be the end. Everybody speculated it was supposed to be the end. The developers thought it was supposed to be the end. And I guess it made too much money or something. So Ubisoft and Massive were like, you know what? It ain't over. We're coming back for a little bit of a fucking encore. Let's do it again. So, get ready, because here comes another bit of the Division 2 for you. After the end, though. And I don't know what comes after the end.
The end.
Prologues.
More end.
Prologues come after the end. Or wait, or is that epilogues? Do I got epilogue? I had that backwards. Listen. Cat wants to bite me.
Is that a cat filter?
Anyway. Yeah. Phasmophobia, which is certainly a podcast favorite or torture, depending on who you talk to, has become scarier. And we've talked about it before where they've had updates and that, the ghost can track you better and blah, this, that. No. It's become scary. The scary way to play this is to play the beta track of it. Play the stuff before changes you don't even know were there. New bugs you didn't even know were there. Things that, like, as players die, the alive players now lose 15 sanity points in this beta branch, actually. Which is pretty crazy. This is like the bleeding edge, pardon the pun there, of, Phasmophobia, which is even scarier than the actual game because you just don't know what you're going to get with it. So try it out.
Nice. Speaking of scary things, it's scary to think that people could be as stupid as the people I'm about to talk about in this next story.
Oh my God, that's so becoming a clip.
So we've talked about scalping before, and apparently according to a piece by Forbes where they interviewed some scalpers are tired of the backlash that they're getting because they're being seen as the bad guys for purchasing consoles that are short on sales or that just there aren't enough stock for, and people are shitting on them. So they're upset. And one of them who was interviewed, who only gave the name Jordan, fucking idiot, he was like, he compared himself and other scalpers to like wholesalers purchasing milk from farmers and reselling it. So to you, Jordan, I fucking challenge you to buy up all the milk in the United States of America and then re-fucking sell it, you fucking idiot. What a bunch of fucking clowns. So anyways, they're tired of being shit on for being assholes.
Well, I think it's also interesting to note that now they have consoles with a controller that is essentially broken since it was manufactured. And that generation may not be wanted anymore until they fix it. So they may be stuck with these consoles at this point. So
I fucking hope so. I hope Jordan's got like enough consoles to build a fucking treehouse out of so he can sit in it away from everybody else and cry.
When these shitbags try to position themselves as middlemans, providing a service to people of like, it's a hard to get console and we're providing them a service to help them get this console. No, you fuckwit. It's hard to get because you assholes are fucking buying 2,000 of them at once. Fuck you, you goddamn pricks.
I guess I just need to say fuck you too, but yeah, fuck you too.
He said it really well. That's pretty much a summary of what my brain was saying, so I'm happy with it.
Oh, man. So the next thing we have is some people have figured out that you can reverse engineer GTA 3 and Vice City. So that has been released. The only thing is you have to have a copy of the game to be able to reverse engineer it. And what that means is you'll be able to play some sort of mods. You can buy this on Steam, or if you actually have the DVD or whatever somewhere, you can do that. But some of the things that they said that they're added, some of the mod stuff that you've added is including native support for widescreen resolutions, not to mention just playing the game now, because that's crazy. Improved effects for PlayStation 2 versions and debug menus. Also includes a map of Liberty City and the pause menu, which, believe it or not, was actually missing from all versions of GTA 3. So yeah, there's a couple different things you can get from that. This is a GameSpot article, but they have a little bit more about it as well. But yeah, it seems like you'll be able to check that out now. And potentially there may be more modding coming, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I have a PlayStation 2 copy of it, so I wonder if that'd be workable. I don't know.
I had.
Well, that's so sad. Well, it's easy to pick up. I mean, it's
Yeah.
super cheap. They made tons of them. In other news, back to hardware news, and also hard to find hardware, is the AMD Ryzen 5000 series of CPUs. And not only they're hard to find, but they might actually be having problems manufacturing them. Now, this is a very limited sample. This is a kind of, it's a company who basically builds custom built PCs for people. So they order bulk CPUs. Thankfully, they're not reseller scalper shitbags, but they've been ordering a bunch of them. They said, we've been having failure rates that are through the roofs. They said out of 120 units of 5600s, we've had 3 fail. Okay, not that much, but still a ton more than Intel. Intel, they've only had 1 fail ever. The 5800s, 4 failed. The 5900s out of 50 units, 4 failed. And the 5950s out of 50 units, 8 failed. That's a 16% failed and that they had to send back. Don't know what this is actually going to mean as my cat messes with my camera, but don't know actually what this will mean for retail or people buying it just from retail, whether they're going to have similar bin problems or not. But I don't know. Since they're hard to get anyway, wait a while and let's see how this pans out.
We talked about one of the most successful releases earlier, Valheim, and in that we mentioned a game that had one of the most unsuccessful releases of all time and held that title right up until the release of Cyberpunk 2077. And now we're going back to it, which is No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky, if you don't know, is a space simulation game that when it released, under-delivered to its promises so much that the developers were being escorted, and so were their extended family, by the police in the country that they're from, because they were getting anthrax and bomb threats from how terrible the game was when it released. Well, they've come back and they've released dozens of updates for their game, and now they've announced their newest one, Companions, which allows you to actually tame and keep the animals that exist throughout the universe, strap some technology on them, and have them run around with you and help you through your journey in space.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
There's a reason why I always played Hunters in WoW.
So there you go.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'll have to go back to that game here soon. I mean, I am playing Starbound, but I don't know. I only play games for like a week or two, and then I move on. So, all right. And
do we ever do it for game of the moment?
No Man's Sky? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I got mine working now, so.
Oh yeah, then we can try to check it out. Maybe next week.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Especially if one of us has a more advanced world that's been built up instead of starting from scratch like we normally do.
I definitely have a save from some point. So
I've got a couple.
Bruno will help us.
The last article we have for the day. This is just kind of awesome. So a 90-year-old man from California wanted to get faster internet than what he was getting. He was getting 3 megs, and in his area, he should have been getting fiber. But just like most of us, probably they have a neighbor who gets fiber, but you can't. Well, this guy had, I guess, an extra $10,000 laying around and decided to put an ad in the Wall Street Journal. And the ad says, literally, paid advertisement, open letter to the CEO of AT&T. AT&T prides itself in leaders in electronic communications. Unfortunately, not for the people who live in North California. Cal 91607, AT&T is now a major disappointment. He goes through basically all this stuff, and he says, yeah, AT&T's advertising speeds up to 100 megs for our neighbors, but the fastest I'm available is only 3 megs. Your competitors now have speeds over 200 megs. Why is AT&T, a leading communication company, treating us so shabby in North Carolina or in North Hollywood? Sincerely, Aaron M. Epstein, an AT&T customer since 1960, his phone number and his email, and it says paid by him. Shortly after this was posted, 2 men, as reported, showed up to extend the fiber optic in the neighbor area to come over, and he received a phone call from the chief executive of AT&T to check in on him. So he obviously got a lot of praise from people like on Nextdoor and Facebook and things like that. But ultimately, he hit them where it hurt, and that's through advertising, and that's pretty sweet. Only thing is, I don't have 10 grand in my pocket to try to fight something like this, but kudos to you, man.
fight you've got gigabit fiber.
Well,
What the hell you?
not necessarily AT&T, but other things.
That's impressive. Honestly, I'm actually impressed that they did anything, because most of those companies would just ignore it.
Yeah, really.
Like really, like, and I mean, we're gonna continue on this short a little longer, like we did with the other one, but like, it's so common that you do have to shame companies into reacting.
Mhm.
Like, I've opened tickets with Uber before that just automatically close,
Yeah.
and the only way I got a response from them was by going to Twitter and being like, "Wow, I love Uber and I've had so many good experiences with it," and then they replied saying, "We're glad you did, Dymyrn," and I was like, "Until today, where your driver fucking screwed me over," and they were like, "Oh shit. Send us the ticket number," and I'm like, "Here's all 7. You guys closed them and didn't respond to me. So way to go." And they're like, "We should take this into the DMs." And I'm like, "No, I will not actually. I'm going to keep making you look like shit until my problem's resolved." It's so commonplace that like these companies just don't care until there's visibility on it.
Well, they're actually one of the websites, one of the kind of journalistic websites out there had kind of commented on this, saying you shouldn't have to publicly shame a company for them to do what's right.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
But
that's
where we're
customer service has gone to the wayside on a lot of these things. And even worse, when you do publicly shame it, like, you get your thing fixed, but they haven't learned their lesson. They don't change
they
what
hush
they
you.
do. Yeah. Like that 90-year-old man and probably others in the neighborhood got better internet. Is AT&T going to do like an in-depth study of where their fringe internet is and where they can? No, they're not. They're just not going to bother.
Yeah.
It's sad.
I mean, I know we all have friends that literally have neighbors that have internet at the end of their driveway, but like they can't get it. And that's just what it is. So anyway, we don't have any emails this week. Thanks for those who have sent them in the past. If you do want to send us one, it's goa@sasgaming.com, and we'll definitely read it, check it out, tell us what you're doing, tell us what you're up to, show us what you're doing, show us what you're up to. Yeah. And I challenge you guys to make a video or something and send us a video response. Maybe we'll even play it if that's the case. But anyway, until next time, if you guys want to follow me, I'm Xycia, so XYCIA. On Twitter, it's Xycia Gaming. Also on Instagram, Xycia Gaming. On Twitch, it's just Xycia. Brian?
So before I say anything else, I just want to do a shout out to both fans and just anyone who is affected in the areas of this giant snowstorm and the power blackouts, especially Texas, but there are other areas as well. Stay warm, stay safe. We definitely have friends and family that are in those areas, so we're definitely thinking about people out there. Hope everything ends up well.
Yeah, with that, I'll just say in the future, like once you guys can get Amazon packages or whatever again, get some space blankets. They're literally like $2, and they really do help you, especially with a situation like this where you may not have heat. And also for about $30, you can get like a solar powered, battery powered, crank powered radio. Gives you weather radio, gives you regular radio, gives you a phone charger because that's super important typically. So yeah, just check those things out and just try to be prepared. Obviously we can't predict when things like this are going to happen, and we can't expect other people to take care of us. So you have to kind of make sure you do what you can do for yourself. So be safe. Hope you guys are okay.
Yeah. But you can find me at Phoennix Nova, PHOENNIX_Nova on Twitch. Get rid of the underscore for all the rest of the socials pretty much.
And you can find me at on Twitch at DYMYRN, Dymyrn, and on Twitter at Dymyrn Gaming, all one word.
Well, cool. That's what got our attention this week. So until next time, you guys be safe, stay warm, love each other, be kind, don't be a shithead, don't be a scalper. So on that note, see you guys. Take care.
Deuces.